breaking news. Trigger warning.
Welcome back, everyone. I know you couldn't hear me for a split second. There's no trigger warning. I haven't used that video in quite some time, so I figured I'd try it. Same thing, same as this one too.
Four-dimensional chess.
Okay, that was fun. Anyway, how is everybody doing? A good welcome to everyone. I kind of have an idea for a concept today, but middle of the week is hard because I literally just work continuously from the time I wake up until now and then after. So, but I had an idea for this Sunday, but I'm probably just gonna use it here because there's enough material to be interesting, but not enough to really fill 2 hours. But it might fill one. So anyway, by the way, these are like the monthly live streams, which I do once a month. It's going to be less kind of content oriented, more channel oriented, like what's going on with the channel. With that, so I've always kind of just a channel news segment. So what is going on with the channel? Oh my Lord. I had Thomas Drake on, which I'm surprised and not surprised, but I expected it to be a much more popular episode because he's kind of been out of the limelight for a while, but he's not a scumbag like Snowden, who, I have like an identity tool that I have to use to monitor my identity for the rest of my life because of Eric Snowden, because of the, I think it's called like the OPM hack, Office of Personnel Management. It turns out that Thomas Drake had the same issue because of that scumbag Snowden, but Thomas Drake did everything the right way, the way that you're supposed to. He went through the right whistleblowing process and all that stuff. And still they tried to destroy him. They had 10 counts, felony charges against him, 4 of which because he was cooperative and decided to open his mouth in front of the FBI. So of course 4 of those counts were for lying to the FBI, which means some stooge wrote down the wrong thing, and then Tom repeated his story, and the stooge had miswritten something down, but that form 302 is the root truth of everything. That's also how they got Martha Stewart, apparently. But anyway, I'm surprised it hasn't done as well, but then I'm not surprised because I would imagine there's probably NSA probably has some, because he worked for NSA. He was a senior executive working at NSA. They probably have some sort of code word, they look for his name and they kind of just depress traffic on whatever it is. The same thing with Christopher Robinson. But I was introduced to Thomas through Christopher Robinson, who was a precognitive dreamer. So definitely make sure you watch those episodes, because reality, as we're finding out at USAID, much, much stranger than fiction. So definitely do watch those episodes. The first 2 in that series of 3 are very linear, very kind of grounded. This is what the NSA did. This is the president's surveillance program that was basically turned all the outward-facing, not all, but much of the outward-facing instruments that the NSA had in terms of collection and turned them inward into the country. So pretty creepy stuff. And to the end, he was not having it. So the guy's he almost had his life destroyed, ended up working at Apple, I think in like a Genius Bar or something like that for like 13 years because the government destroyed his life. But I think what you're seeing happening, and I'm going to try not to verge into politics, but I have to talk a little bit about what's going on right now. The waste, fraud, and abuse has reached a level that not even I thought was possible. I mean, they had like USAID funded a $20 million Sesame Street play in Iraq as an example, right? And there's a ton of like DEI things, et cetera, as you can imagine, but just millions and millions of dollars. They had 700,000 subscriptions to Disney. Like, why? These are government, like these are attack. I've probably paid hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars in taxes over the course of my life. Like, this is totally unacceptable. And this is only the beginning. Like, I want to see people in handcuffs. I want to see people prosecuted. I want to see people go to prison for a very long time. The other thing that's come out is there's 13,000 agents in the FBI. 5,000 were weaponized against the American people in January 6th. Now, there were some bad apples in January 6th, and I acknowledge that. And it was a riot, and I acknowledge that. But to go after everybody who was waved in by security guards into the Capitol, like there were old ladies who got arrested and were being prosecuted. Like, it is frankly unforgivable what was done to those people. So, you know, there are people, agents who were screaming about injustice and all that, but there were also whistleblowers who were like blowing the whistle on this behavior, and they were like, the FBI was ruthless against them. And now you have all these people crying about their pensions. Look, if you're gonna join the Gestapo, then you pay the price of being part of the Gestapo. I mean, I got to be careful here because like these people weaponize the government against, you know, folks for speaking out. But it's just, I want to see due process, but like these people, many of these people need to answer for what they did to just people who wanted to go and protest against the government. The other thing is like the level of like everything around us is fake. It's all fake. From the news we see, from the media we consume. I mean, Politico was basically funded by the USAID. Like they may not be able to make payroll because those payments have gotten cut off. Disney, you know, had funding from USAID. Like all this cultural poison that's been pumped out at us, it's all fake. It's all fake. And it's all funded by all of you, US taxpayers. I'm outraged by this. I am absolutely outraged. So, like, to Elon Musk, keep going. Good job. Keep going. Keep marching. Because when you're going through hell, what do? You keep going. Move, move, move. And again, I'm not like a particular Elon Musk fan or a Trump fan, but like what they're doing, I fully endorse. This stuff has to stop. I mean, just egregious wastes. Like I worked my ass off my entire life and continue to work my ass off. And this is what they're doing with my money. Completely unacceptable. So I want to see people in prison after this stuff. Like this is just anyway, sorry for the rant. I got to stop. I got to calm down. I'm going to look at comments and see where the wind's blowing. Make sure. Let's see. But it's good thing I had the trigger warning though. So that you know, we should be okay. Yeah, we got the werewolf. All right. Yeah, I had them. I just haven't. I'm not going to say that. I'm trying to be apolitical. I'm trying to focus on what's happening, but I love it. And we're going to talk about that, Logan. I actually interviewed Chris Bledsoe, and the night before I interviewed is when the owls showed up. So there's definitely something to it. But there was Diana Walsh Pasolka said something about Project Beta, which is basically linked to Paul Benowitz. So maybe the government's trying to drive him crazy or something like that, but which I wouldn't be surprised given all the malfeasance and waste, fraud, and abuse that's happening right now or that we're seeing uncovered. Yes. Fair. Oh boy. Yeah. Unreal. Unreal, Andy. Unfreaking real. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Love her. Oh yeah. Well, I would love to interview her, but she never responds when I send her emails. So yeah, Octo B, I think you're right. And they're doubling down. They're all doubling down. Like, this is a civil rights crisis. What? You're not sending a fucking $35,000 scholarship to somebody in Myanmar, right? When like American citizens are up the wazoo in student debt? Like everything that the other thing that what I'm a little bit worried about with Elon is that they're going to collide into some black budget funding, I bet. As they're going through USAID, they might inadvertently run into some of that stuff, and they need to be careful about that for both good reasons and bad reasons, because those guys will smoke you, and in some cases they'll be right. So you got to be I hope that those shadowy figures are kind of reaching out to Elon and saying, hey, if you see Project Flamingo, just don't touch it, okay? Because it'll cause a whole rat's nest of other things. But yeah, I don't know if they're terrified, but yeah, I'm sure there's some programs that are pretty evil. But I thought the level of malfeasance and wastewater and abuse was bad in the federal government. I had no idea it was this out of control. I mean, it is absolutely out of freaking control. So anyway, just for folks who just joined us, this is for you, just for the folks who just joined us and didn't see my earlier rant.
Trigger warning.
Okay. So, but I think it's pretty enjoyable to watch this. I mean, it's just like people in Congress or certain members of Congress literally destroyed people's lives because those people just showed up at a protest. It just annihilated their lives. And now that the security panopticon is focused on them, suddenly it's not okay. It's injustice. No. It's karma. Karma is coming for you. It's just all the people who I just get pissed off thinking about all the hours I was away from my family, just slugging it away, just working and working and working. And all the government did is just take. They never produced anything. The military did. I got to give the military credit because I had an ROTC scholarship and they paid a huge, like 80% of my tuition. But they didn't just give that to me. They were supposed to get 4 years of service. They got 5 because of stop loss. And for that, I'm thankful. But I had to give back, right? It was a quid pro quo. But these people are giving out scholarships. There was one particular transaction to this Lutheran church of hundreds of millions of dollars that was helping bring in illegal immigrants and fentanyl into the country. Like, are you kidding me? Whoever did that, whoever authorized that transaction needs to be in prison for the rest of their lives. And not in a white collar prison, a federal pound me in the you-know-what prison from Office Space you can think about, right? I mean, who are these people and why are they doing this stuff? It just pisses me off. People work their entire lives, and the government just takes and takes and takes and takes. And then when somebody comes in and rips off the Band-Aid and exposes sunlight, and there's all the decomposition and decay and the it's just it is completely unacceptable. It's completely they need Musk and company needs to continue marching on, and that whole place needs to be ripped out, uprooted, root and stem. Done. In other good news, 40,000 government employees have accepted the 8-month buyout. So that's good. But I think there's like 3 million government employees. So what are the rest doing? And unfortunately, those government employees are probably the smart ones, which is not great. But it's just, and it's just some politicians. I'm deliberately not saying a political party, but there are some politicians who are like protesting like this is an outrage. It's like, yeah, you better be running interference because people are going to find out exactly what you've been doing, how you get paid. I mean, like Bill Kristol, right? He's a neoconservative who's complaining about this. Like, that's just not wrong. And then it turns out one of his organizations is getting funds funneled by USAID. I mean, it's all a grift. The entire federal apparatus is a grift. It's just like, that's what they do. They don't pay themselves, but they arrange funding so it goes to their organizations on which they have like a small ownership here, a small ownership there. Like, this is just evil. Like, it is pure evil. These people have no business being in government. They have no business fighting on behalf of the American people. They're like they're literally enslaving the American people is what they're doing. They're slave owners. They're slave holders. I had no intention to talk about this stuff, but I'm so pissed off, and I haven't had a chance to vent about this. Let's see. Oh, yeah, we're definitely going to learn worse. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, I don't know. I can't quantify how many goes to, those sorts of kind of DEI things, but there shouldn't be a single dollar going to that stuff. Could you imagine if it was going to, like, I don't know, abortion clinic or and like trying to think, like Christian family planning clinics and stuff like that, where they like discourage you from having an abortion? Can you imagine what the left would do? Like, it should not. None of this funding should go to anything that's partisan at all. Like, it's just not appropriate. It's not now. There's probably some of this money going to like Christian groups and things like that, and it probably should, right? But that's where it gets hard. It gets hard to tell like what's the problem is there's not a lot of people overseas who are like into transhumanism as much as we are in the United States. So it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? I could see funding like Islamic groups or Catholic groups, depending on like if it's in Italy or like in a Catholic country or something, but still. Oh my God. Well, look, I'm good with rights for homosexuals, right? Just like because they have rights just like anybody else. Prisoners, they have abridged rights. They have some rights, but um, but yeah, again, and the Russians are pretty, what's the word for it? Anti-gay, I guess is the like. I don't care who you decide to like. It's your business. It's not my business. But um, but when you start putting it in schools with 5-year-olds, yeah, that's not okay. That's not okay. Hey, Crystal. Yeah. Anyway. All right. So what's next? I was gonna do future episodes, but I didn't prepare my usual thing. So I'm just gonna have to do it kind of old school. And how do I do that old school? Do it this way. This thing will come up. Okay. And let me share this if I can. About 80,000 windows up, and every single one is not the one I want. All right. give me a moment. Okay. All right, so what we got coming up next? All right, so next week, at least starting on Monday, we get into the woo at NSA, some of the projects that they work on. So just click on that really quickly. How is that even? Oh, I guess I can show. Yeah, I'm not going to show that, but regardless. All right, it's not following me anyway. But anyway, NSA precogs. That's kind of the name of the video, etc. Okay. All right, then the next piece is going to be on Lakenheath. We're going to go back to Hollywood and look at the. She has on the ground intelligence on kind of what was going on outside of the 4 bases over RAF Lakenheath. Okay. All right. Then Anjali is going to be on. I had to push her back a little bit, her episode back a little bit, because I wanted to get the Drake episodes out. But it's going to be CIA time travel programs, international dimensional beings. Okay. And then, oops. And then channeling the Council of Nine. So I don't know what to think or feel about channeling or whatever, but when I was interviewing Anjali, she claimed to be getting a message from them as we were talking. So we went there. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know what to believe, but you're the ones who get to decide, not me. So just something to consider. All right, and then Dr. Morehouse is going to go into the history of the Illuminati. Okay, and it's going to be in 2 episodes. So anyway, it'll be, I'm sure there will be plenty for all in that one. So those are the next 6 episodes. I'm currently working on 2 more with Scott Roeder. He's got more videos, and then he's got more intel on what happened in Vegas with that video that they came up with. So those will be kind of, and there's other videos that he's got that he's going to go through. One of them, I think he aired on Whitley Strieber's show, but it's allegedly of a guy who recorded something while on a craft. So we will see how that goes. Okay. Yeah, I'm calming down a little bit, but man, am I pissed. Yeah, there's a whole book on it called Sinister Forces with Peter Levenda. And Jolly didn't know who the Council of Nine was, by the way. I had to tell her about Andrej Puharich and all that stuff. So, yeah, it's crazy stuff. That's good. Yeah. It's more of a like history lesson, etc., but it should be pretty interesting. All right. So I meant to pull this up, but those were your upcoming episodes are kind of all done. All right. So I think the next thing that I was going to discuss. Now I'm kind of just doing it in real time. So we're going to talk about this a little bit. So this is inspired by, some recent things that have been posted on the internet. And I did a semi deep dive. It's really not a deep dive because I didn't really do any. I used the Chat GPT cheat as always, at least for, I would never do that for a research paper, but when you need something really fast and you need, you're in something like this where you don't really know what's real and what's not, I think it's okay as long as I tell you it's just what ChatGPT came up with. You should research it independently. It's probably right, but there might be stuff that's a little off. But it's still pretty interesting stuff. So, by the way, I would if I could ever be a sponsor for Duncan, right? I would very much appreciate that. But I'm not. Small fry. But I like Dunkin' Coffee because I grew up on the East Coast and spent some time in Beantown. So about 3 years. So in my car in Havard. So, let's see. I got another comment. Oh, Moon Man. Thank you. Yeah, I like how it looks too. I don't look like I'm losing. Don't look like I'm losing my hair. It looks like straight down. I look fine. I appreciate you. I haven't seen you in a while, so good to see you, my friend. All right. So here's where we're gonna start. Just get this all teed up. All right. So a lot of controversy with Bledsoe right now. So we're going to start with something that my friend James Ian Doley put out a while ago, but it's been resurfacing recently. So just one moment. You know what? I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, so let me just. Okay. All right. Good. All right. All right. So we're just going to start with this segment here and let folks decide.
I just think they're a great all-American family, but when Chris went through, and I believe every word he tells me, and about this, and not only do I believe every word he tells me, he attracted the attention of a lot of people: DIA, NASA, CIA, other agencies. Everybody wanted to get close to him. Everybody wanted to know as much as information as they possibly can, because his experience it took in not only the classic abduction scenario, because he had missing time, right, where he had no idea what was going on, right, but he also met the entities themselves, and he also met the lady.
Yeah,
and not many people meet the lady. And I think, and the lady is an element in all of this that really hasn't been explored very much. I will tell you that in some circles it's taken very, very seriously, but it hasn't been explored. The Catholic Church looked at it, because a lot of the sightings, Medjugorje, Fatima, Lourdes, they were all the lady appeared. none of the children that saw any of this ever claimed it was the Virgin Mary. It was just the lady. It was just a lady who showed up.
Right.
Yeah. And I doubt the Virgin Mary had blonde hair and blue eyes. She was Semitic. So, and of course, the lady would lie, and the lady, would scare the living hell out of them, and fire and brimstone sometimes lovely messages. A typical abduction scenario where these beings come to people and they tell them stories. They have the line about the environment and things along those lines, but they're generally there's a trickster element to it. There is a physical, not very nice physical element to it. There's a very strong sexual element to it. It's not. I mean, sexual is homoerotic in some cases.
All right, that's a weird place to end for that particular thing, but that's where it ends. So, all right. So I decided to do a semi deep dive, right? And the question I asked, it's just ChatGPT. If you have ChatGPT, you can follow along. Sometimes you might get a different answer, but who is the lady from an occult perspective? So the concept of the lady can take on various meanings depending on the tradition, mythos, or esoteric system being referenced. But here's a few interpretations. So the first is just the divine feminine, kind of the goddess, and the lady refers to the divine feminine, often embodied as a goddess in Wiccan, Thelema, in various pagan traditions. She might be seen as the Great Mother, Isis, Hecate, or Lilith, depending on the framework. In Wicca, she is sometimes referred to as the triple goddess, maiden, mother, and crone, representing different phases of life, wisdom, and power. So that's kind of the first sort of archetype that you see with this. The second is the lady as the Shekinah in Kabbalah. So in Jewish mysticism, particularly Kabbalah, the Shekinah represents the feminine aspect of God associated with divine presence, intuition, and mystical insight. The Shekinah is seen as a bridge between the material and spiritual worlds. The third archetype would be the lady in Western esotericism. So the Lady Babylon, for instance, in Thelema, which was Aleister Crowley's occult system. And she's seen as a powerful, transgressive figure associated with the divine feminine, sacred sexuality, and spiritual enlightenment. In Rosicrucianism and Freemasonry, the Lady Sophia, meaning wisdom, represents divine knowledge and enlightenment. The fourth archetype is the lady in Arthurian and Grail mysticism. So imagine the Lady of the Lake in Arthurian legend. That holds deep esoteric meaning, often associated with initiation, mystery, and the deeper aspects of feminine power. And then some also connect the lady with Morgana Le Fay, a figure sometimes viewed as a priestess of ancient magical traditions. The fifth archetype is the Black Madonna and Dark Goddess archetype. In occult Christianity and mystical traditions, the Black Madonna symbolizes the hidden esoteric wisdom of the feminine. And then figures such as Lilith, Ereshkigal, and Kali represent the darker aspects of the lady, transformation, destruction, and rebirth. So that's kind of a broader introduction to why all these intelligence agencies may be interested in this figure. And then, also why the Catholic Church might be. And I wanted to kind of go down that rabbit hole a little bit. Let me just take some comments really quickly. The blue lady, huh? I'll need to take a look at that. Yeah, I agree with you, Logan. I think it's a bunch of different people naming the same phenomena. Yeah, she could. She could represent Gaia, right? Yeah, I should talk to Paul Stamets. Did he? Yeah, he may have. I did so many interviews with Lynn. I can't remember quite, which one it might have been. All right, but let me continue. So what I decided to do is ask about sightings of the lady in Western Europe. Okay. And I think the answer I got is not all Western Europe, but it's Europe proper. So the answer I got was that there have been numerous sightings of the lady across Western Europe, often blending elements of Marian apparitions, the divine feminine, and supernatural encounters. These visions frequently carry mystical, esoteric, and sometimes even apocalyptic connotations. Below are some key sightings and their possible occult interpretations. Let me stop there really quick because I want to summarize one thing or really expound or just hammer on a particular point. And that is that the lady often appears, or this apparition often appears before instances of major transformation. So, for instance, in 1848, and we'll get into this, there was an appearance of the lady in Europe, and this was right before all the kind of the agrarian age transformed into the industrial age. I think it's when Marx may have written the Communist Manifesto. So it happens when there's these like massive tidal changes in human society. And right now we're seeing it. We're watching it in real time. We're watching it with Trump and kind of the dismantling of the kleptocratic American government. We're seeing it in real time. So, and again, the Bledsoe calls it the apocalypse. And he doesn't mean the apocalypse is in the destruction of the world. It just means the great unveiling. And right now, all these secrets are being unveiled. All the sunlight is disinfecting the rot beneath the edifice of these corrupt, degraded, decayed, decomposed, filthy institutions that have taken advantage of the goodwill of millions of American people. So, how you doing, Woo Riders DG? Glad to hear you got your channel back again. I know you told me like last time, but still, congratulations. All right, so let's go back and continue where I left off, if I can find it. All right. Oh, let me see another. Oh, that's just a funny synchronicity, Logan, I think. But by the way, Chris Bledsoe didn't tell me Easter 2026. He told me in September 2026. So I think. So he hasn't been consistent. The important part, though, is March or Easter 2026 would be the vernal equinox, and September would be the autumnal equinox. So it's the day of year where in the northern hemisphere the days are as long as the nights are for that one particular day. So anyway. All right, so getting back into the okay. So we're going to start with the Marian apparitions, Catholic and esoteric views. So the most well-documented sightings of the lady in Western Europe often involve visions of the Virgin Mary. Yet many of these events contain elements suggestive of a deeper esoteric reality. So Our Lady of Lourdes was in 1858, was in France. A 14-year-old peasant girl named Bernadette Subaru. I don't even know how to pronounce her name because I don't speak French, but phonetically it's pronounced Subirus. I'm pretty sure that's not how you pronounce the name, though. So what happened was she saw a glowing lady in white who revealed a miraculous spring and instructed her to pray for sinners. So the occult interpretation of this, kind of outside of the Catholic interpretation, is some see this as an encounter with the divine feminine rather than strictly the Catholic Virgin Mary. The hidden spring relates to mystical traditions of sacred wells and underground wisdom, and the number of apparitions, 18, I guess there were 18 that were seen, aligns with esoteric numerology. 9 plus 9 equals 18, representing spiritual rebirth. Okay, another Marian apparition was the famous Our Lady of Fatima in 1917 Portugal. 3 shepherds' children saw her. A lady in white appeared and delivered 3 secret prophecies. There was also the miracle of the sun, where hundreds of people, maybe thousands, saw a dancing sun. From an occult perspective, the dancing sun phenomenon on October 13th suggests mass psychic projection or an energy shift rather than a purely religious miracle. Some researchers, including Jacques Vallée, have proposed that this event resembles UFO encounters. And then the third secret of Fatima allegedly involved vision of global catastrophe, linking this lady to prophetic traditions. The next kind of, I guess, visitation, Marian apparition, was in 1846 in France. Our Lady of La Salette, La Salette is probably the correct one in French. Who saw her? So 2 young shepherds saw her. The lady wept and warned of coming disasters. The occult interpretation is that the apparition aligns with prophetic warnings from esoteric traditions. The lady is associated with the Black Madonna archetype, symbolizing hidden knowledge and transformation. All right, so that's kind of the first archetype of the lady in kind of European tradition. The second goes kind of reaches far deeper into European, maybe ancient or European archetypes. And this is the White Lady and fairy traditions. So not all the sightings of the lady are overtly Marian. Many involve supernatural white ladies or fairy-like women. So the White Lady of France and Germany. In folklore, White Lady often appears before major historical events or disasters. In Germany, the Weisse Frau, which just means white woman, is a spirit that haunts castles and foretells death. Esoterically, she may represent a guardian spirit, an ancestral memory, or an emanation of the divine feminine. There's also fairy queens and ladies of the mists, and this is in Celtic traditions. In Ireland and Scotland, supernatural women appear in forests or at crossroads, sometimes offering wisdom or warning. So in other words, the edge of the forest or at crossroads are liminal spaces. The Bian-Shé or Banshee, though feared, is linked to the mystical lineage of the Tuatha Danann. Some encounters suggest interdimensional or shamanic experiences rather than mere folklore. The third kind of European tradition is the Lady of the Lake and Arthurian mysticism. So we talked a little bit about this, but the Lady of the Lake is a powerful sorceress who grants Excalibur to King Arthur. Some occultists believe she represents priestesses of an ancient pre-Christian tradition linked to Avalon and Druidic wisdom. Her connection to sacred water mirrors many Marian apparitions, for example, Lourdes, reinforcing the link between the divine feminine and the unconscious mystical knowledge hidden beneath the surface. All right, the fourth is the Black Madonna phenomenon. So Black Madonna statues are found all over Europe. I didn't know that, particularly in France. So e.g. Chartres, Rocamadour in Spain, Montserrat. Esoteric interpretations suggest these figures represent an older pre-Christian goddess tradition, i.e. Isis, Cybele, and Inanna, that they symbolize the hidden alchemical wisdom of the feminine, and serve as a guardian of secret power sites, often linked to ley lines. And then, of course, there's kind of the fifth modern paranormal encounters with quote unquote the lady. In the 20th and 21st centuries, encounters with mysterious ladies have occurred, often taking on more of a paranormal or UFO related aspect. The high strangeness, there's kind of a high strangeness to the lady. Some modern UFO experiencers report encounters with tall, luminous female entities, linking them both to Marian apparitions and sorry, I got distracted by actual work. And the ultra-terrestrial hypothesis. So the Fatima event and other Marian sightings exhibit traits similar to UFO encounters, that to include telepathic communication, glowing lights, missing time, and prophetic visions. So kind of in conclusion for this, who is the lady in occult terms? So from an esoteric perspective, the lady is seen across Western Europe, may represent the divine feminine, a manifestation of Sophia, Shekinah, or the great goddess. 2, a guardian of hidden knowledge, as in Black Madonna traditions and Arthurian myths. 3, a shamanic or interdimensional entity, blurring the lines between Marian apparitions and UFO encounters. And then 4, a harbinger of prophecy, often appearing before major events, offering warnings or visions of the future. So that really got me intrigued. So I, of course, asked, what major events has the lady appeared before? So before I get to that, I'm going to answer, so look at some of the comments first. Let's see. Okay, we talked about that. Yeah, well, that's what it's pretty easy to debunk one video with Bledsoe, but not debunk all of them. So that's all Mick West has to do to score a point. So yeah, Mick West might be right in that video, but he's not right. I doubt he's right about all of them, because there's been other things. Again, Grant Cameron was there because again, I talk to Grant Cameron all the time, right? Or at least on the show every time we talk a little bit before, a little bit after. But Grant Cameron was there when that dog was spurting blood and was going to expire. And Chris touched the dog, and was totally fine. Now, if he were an elaborate hoaxer, I guess, there may be a case for how he may have pulled that off, but yeah, we'll talk about Medjugorje soon. Interesting. Oh boy. Yeah, it could be. Okay. All right, so let's continue, shall we? Holy crap. We burned through 50 minutes. I don't even know where the 50 minutes went. I'm glad I set this up this way. Okay. So let's go to the next piece. All right. So just as a reminder, what major events has a lady appeared before? Okay, so the lady has appeared before several major historical events, often acting as a prophetess, warning figure, or a catalyst for change. Below are some key instances where apparitions or visions of a lady preceded wars, revolutions, or societal upheaval. This is exactly what's going on right now in the United States. And it probably freaked them out, i.e. the intelligence community, when she appeared in North Carolina to Bledsoe. All right. So, oh man, this is dark. So the first ping that I get from ChatGPT is from the 14th century. Can you guess what it is? The Black Death. So Marian and Black Madonna apparitions. So they were in various locations in France, Italy, and Spain. There were reports of mysterious female figures appearing before outbreaks of the Black Death. So you're talking 1347 to 1351. Some saw these figures as warnings from the Virgin Mary or dark omens of death. The spread of Black Madonna devotion during this period suggests a response to spiritual crisis. Some esoteric traditions link these apparitions to earth energy shifting or plague-related prophecy. Again, there's that reference to Gaia or the divine goddess, etc., etc. There's another dark one. Our Lady of Guadalupe in 1531. Can you guess what that was? I'll just tell you. The collapse of the Aztec Empire. So this happened in Mexico, but it was linked to European colonial expansion. In the incident, Juan Diego, an indigenous man, saw a lady who identified herself as the Virgin Mary appearing on Tepeyac Hill. The apparition accelerated the Spanish conquest of the assets, converting millions to Christianity. Esoteric interpretation suggests that this was the fusion of the indigenous goddess Tenantzin and the Catholic Virgin, marking a spiritual shift in the New World. All right, we talked about the Lady of La Salette earlier. Again, this was in 1846. This is a warning before European upheaval. So it happened in France. A weeping lady warned two children of upcoming calamities, including famine and political turmoil. Shortly after, Europe experienced the revolutions of 1848, a wave of political upheavals. Some interpret the apparition as a warning of spiritual and social decay before the uprisings. Okay, then we have Our Lady of Lourdes, which is in 1858, which is a prelude to European wars. It happened in Lourdes, France. A young girl, Bernadette Subiru, saw a glowing lady who instructed her to dig for a healing spring. The timing coincided with the buildup of to the Franco-Prussian War, which was 1870 to 1871. I think there was also, I want to say, the 7 Years' War, which was like in 1863, because I think that was happening. Let me just see when that was. When was the 7 Year War? Nope, I was wildly wrong. That was in 1756. What wars happened in 1860s? Civil War is obviously going to be there. It's going to be the first one, but I know there was another one. There we go. Yeah, the King of Prussia under Bismarck invaded Denmark in 1864. There was the French occupation of Mexico from 1863 to 1867. Of course, we talked the American Civil War. Anyway, let me get back to where I was. All right, but the timing coincided with the buildup of the Franco-Prussian War, 1870 to 1871, and later World War I. Esoterically, Lourdes became a global it still is, by the way, became a global pilgrimage site of healing, possibly preparing souls for the coming suffering. All right, this is interesting too. So Our Lady of Knock, as in spelled like that, knock on your door, in 1879. And that was kind of several years after the Irish famine, but it also coincided with lots of Irish nationalism. So it occurred in Knock, Ireland. A group of villagers saw a silent vision of a luminous lady with St. Joseph and St. John. The vision occurred just after the Great Irish Famine, so that's 1845 to 1852, a period of immense suffering. It was seen as a spiritual rallying point for Irish Catholics, reinforcing resistance against British rule. Some scholars and occultists see the vision as a mass psychic phenomenon triggered by national trauma. I mean, it could. I mean, like, yeah, the Irish had every reason to hate the British for deliberately starving them. And then in sixth, kind of the sixth example is Our Lady of Fatima, which we talked about a little bit. It was a harbinger of world wars, particularly World War II. And it was also a harbinger of the communist revolution in Russia. So that was in Fatima, Portugal. We know that 3 shepherd children saw a glowing lady who delivered 3 apocalyptic secrets. So the lady warned of World War II if humanity did not repent. The Miracle of the Sun on October 13th, 1917 was a mass paranormal event witnessed by thousands. The third secret of Fatima, allegedly predicting global catastrophe, was partially revealed by the Vatican, fueling conspiracy theories. And some researchers, e.g., for example, Jacques Vallée, believed this was a UFO-related interdimensional event. Okay, then there's the Bonneau apparition in 1933. Again, a warning before World War II. It was in Belgium. An 11-year-old girl saw a luminous lady who called herself the Virgin of the Poor. The vision occurred just before Hitler rose to power. The apparition's emphasis on suffering and poverty seemed to foreshadow the horrors of World War II and the Holocaust. Then there's the Zeitun apparitions in 1968. And then it was a kind of it foreshadowed a global crisis. It was in Zeitun, Egypt. A glowing lady was seen by hundreds of thousands above a Coptic church for 2 to 3 years. This occurred after the Six-Day War in 1967, when Egypt suffered a major defeat. Some believe it signaled upcoming geopolitical tensions, such as the 1973 Yom Kippur War. And esoteric views suggest a shift in consciousness or interdimensional warning. And then someone mentioned the Medjugorje apparitions from the 1980s to the present, so 1981 to present. It was a warning before the Yugoslav wars, like Bosnia, and it happened in Bosnia-Herzegovina. 6 children saw a lady who delivered secrets about the future. The visions began just before the collapse of Yugoslavia and the deadly wars of the 1990s. Some messengers warned of chastisements if people did not repent. Critics argue that political and religious manipulation may have played a role in the phenomenon. Okay, then there's the Lady of Garabandal, 1961 to 1965. And it's just kind of a question, an unfulfilled prophecy. It happened in Spain. 4 girls received messages about a coming warning, miracle, and chastisement. The messages were apocalyptic, but have not yet come true. Some theorists suggest this was a failed prophecy, a psychic projection, or a yet-to-be-fulfilled warning. So some common themes in these apparitions: there's warnings before global conflicts. The lady often appears before wars, revolutions, or collapses. Healing and hope amidst crisis. Many of these apparitions result in miracle healings or spiritual revival. Connections to UFOs and the high strangeness. Some cases, like Fatima and Zeitun, bear striking similarities to modern UFO encounters. Mass witnesses and paranormal phenomena. Unlike private mystical visions, many of these events were witnessed by hundreds of thousands of people. So who is the lady? Is she a divine messenger? She might be a supernatural figure warning humanity of impending disasters. Is she a psychological projection? Some argue she emerges from collective unconscious fears during times of crisis. Or is it an interdimensional or UFO phenomenon? Some cases resemble alien or ultra-terrestrial encounters. So that's, I could ask it more questions, but I think that's probably a good place to stop and see if anybody has questions. You've lived in Medjugorje? You got to say more, man. Yeah, a whole lot of 19th century suffering. Yeah, there's other stuff in there that I don't want to share, though, because there's like some personal stuff about. I mean, I'll about like the owl that here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. But yeah, I don't want to share that because it's mixed in with some other stuff. I'm not going to read it, but I'm just going to give you kind of the bottom line. If I could only find this. Every time I look for this thing, I can never find it. Okay. All right, now it's just thinking. Okay. This stuff gets kind of weird. So I'm going to tell you just facts. And then you can kind of decide for yourselves. Okay. So many of you have seen this picture a billion times. You're probably tired of seeing it. I don't blame you. But the rabbit hole keeps going, extending deeper and deeper and deeper. So the date that this owl landed on my back fence was September 28th, specifically. So twilight, call it 6 p.m. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's Marvin, for sure. By the way, did you know that the Egyptian letter for owl is also an M, or like it looks like an M, which is basically the M sound, something like that. Very strange that I subconsciously came up with Marvin. So, what is significant about September 28th? And this is in 2023. The autumnal equinox was on September 23rd, okay, of the same year, which we talked about that earlier. This is, I think this is the harvest moon. Hold on. Oh, that's weird. Yeah. So apparently that's one of your birthdays. So this was September 23rd. Now I'm just gonna look at something else so I can make sure I get the dates right, because it was either on the night of a harvest moon, which is the first full moon after the vernal equinox or the autumnal equinox, but I need to confirm that because I don't want to make any of this stuff up. So okay, so the harvest full moon occurred the next evening, right? So that's just one day after the date. Okay. This is the closest full moon to the equinox, symbolizing completion, illumination, and revelation in mystical traditions. Okay. Some esoteric traditions suggest portals of energy open around equinoxes and full moons. Okay, let's see. In Western esoteric traditions, this is often linked to preparation for Samhain, Halloween, and the thinning of the veil. Okay. All right, here's the other weird part. The Feast of the Archangels is celebrated on September 29th, so the next day, the day after September 28th. The feast honors the three most well-known archangels in Christian, Jewish, and esoteric traditions. So we're talking the Archangel Michael, the Archangel Gabriel, the Archangel Raphael. Okay. So many traditions see Michaelmas, which is September 29th, as a time to call upon Archangel Michael for protection against dark forces. Some European traditions held rituals to drive out evil spirits on that date. Let's see. It's also pre-Christian, appears in Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah, Islam, and Gnostic teachings. An esoteric traditions see equinoxes as the time when the veil between worlds is thinner, making it easier to invoke angelic forces. All right. I'm just kind of skimming. All right. I think. All right. So without going too much into it, you all know about the dream I had about the Missoula, Montana strike. That dream was sometime in March of 2024. The thing that I just recently discovered is the feast day of the Archangel Gabriel, which is basically the archangel associated with messengers and prophecy, is March 24th. Okay. But in this dream, I had a dream about the Missoula, Montana labor strike. So this was in March 2024. In December 2024, the dream turned out to be somewhat precognitive. So I had the uniform. I talked about white, green, and red in the uniform. The strike ended up being a Starbucks strike. There's also an Amazon strike at the same time. I guess there's some orange in Amazon, but there's white and green, definitely in the Starbucks uniform and logo. So it was somewhat precognitive. But by the way, you can go back and verify this if you go to my community tab on YouTube. You'll see that I wrote down the dream 10 months ago before anything happened in December. But at the end of the dream, and I'm just going to read what I wrote there. I just have, then at the end of the dream, I heard the word quote unquote shamanis, and then saw the word Jibril, spelled Jybril, as if on a video screen. Again, I'm not sure what any of this means, but I Googled Jibril, found the name Jibril with an I instead of a Y, which is the Islamic name for the Archangel Gabriel, who it turns out is the patron saint of messengers, broadcasters, and it turns out prophecy. So the more you dig into this rabbit hole, the more you find those weird connections. It's almost as if the end of the dream was punctuated by a reference to Gabriel in order to say, this is a premonition, dummy. Pay attention. So anyway, that's a bit of a, I could go into more detail, but I don't want to be self-indulgent on this particular live stream. It's weird and it's not appropriate. So that's, if I can only find, there we go. Stop sharing. All right. So that is that. Anybody have any react to that? Am I just crazy? Yeah, they're definitely not what they seem. But what does that mean? It could just be pure coincidence that all these things happened the way that they happened, right? I don't want to act like it's something more than it might be. Anyway, sorry, people are still sending out like, oh, that's annoying. All right. All right. Any questions? Otherwise, I might Might decide to call it an evening. I'll give it about another minute. What do people think of that? I feel like I look like a crazy person now. I appreciate that, Clarissa. Again, I don't know what any of it means, but it's felt positive. It hasn't felt negative in any way. So anyway, let me just pull up if anybody has any questions. We can do that now, but I don't think a lot of folks do. Yeah, but remote influencing by what? That's the question. It's the question, Lucid. That's the question. And I don't pretend to know. I've tried out of body my entire life. Never works to my conscious knowledge. I haven't dabbled in remote viewing, but I've never been formally trained, so I don't mess with it too much. But the three things that I've experienced are like lots of synchronicities, animal kind of these odd animal encounters, like always positive, but when I see hawks in the sky, they'll always come over and take a look, like circle around a little bit and fly away. I don't know. And then the third is just these sometimes precognitive dreams. I've probably documented 3 that have happened in the last year or 2. And then 1 has been undocumented because it's the first time that I can remember it happening to me. I didn't know what it was. Yeah, I think it's something like that too. I just don't know what's guiding me. Right? Is it something that it feels friendly? Intuition tells me it's friendly and stuff like that, but the phenomenon has a trickster element too. So you don't really fully know or fully ever know. Anyway, with that, I think I'm gonna bid you all adieu. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed some of this stuff. Oh, I got another. Whoa. Yeah, that's happened to me with an owl too. An owl tried to sneak up behind me, and I turned around and caught him. Yeah. Yeah, but Scott, you saw a picture. Like that's a picture of an owl. If they're able to manipulate a camera for the screen memory, but I was able to walk up to the owl and take a bazillion pictures, and it let me for like an hour. It just hung out there, which did not seem normal to me. Yeah. Yep. All right. Thank you. Good night, everyone. And talk soon. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.